Hello, everybody. We are about to get started. Can we be heard, or are we still on mute, Craig?
I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. All righty, it is 6 o'clock. Calling the meeting to order. Would everybody please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Bill, would you lead us tonight?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Kathy, roll call, please.
Mayor Chapman?
Here.
Councilmember Bean? Here. Councilmember Furby is absent and excused. Councilmember Halverson, absent and excused. Councilmember Scanlon.
Yes.
Okay. We are now moving on to our first public comment, which is a limit of 5 minutes per person. Just a reminder, please stay quiet while you are giving, while somebody else is giving their public comment. And we will not be answering any public comment unless it comes up in the manager's report. So you have 5 minutes once again per person. Is there anybody on Zoom or in the room that would like to give public comment? Go ahead, ma'am. Please state your name, your full name and address.
My name is Marilyn Andrew. I live at 624 Elliott in Ishpeming. I'm a longtime member of the Friends of the Ishpeming Carnegie Public Library. I'm here to advocate for the budget that the library has requested. I was shocked to read in the Mining Journal that the budget under consideration by the city actually cuts money allocated to the library, including funds for such essentials as books. I also understand that the statement about the library being $18,000 over budget in this year's spending is not correct. I'm usually at the library at least once a week, and every time I go, there are many activities either going on or being advertised. There are so many book clubs for all age groups sponsored by our librarians that it's hard to keep up with all of them. Circulation of all types of materials is increasing, and attendance at events at the library is also reaching new heights, particularly with children. I understand that the library has requested a small increase in this year's budget to allow the children's librarian to have a full-time schedule. This would be very beneficial, as there are more families with children using the library all the time. In Ishpeming, we should be doing whatever we can to keep families with children in our city. One thing we can do is support the library and its programs, which offer many activities every week for youngsters, as well as a wonderful summer reading program. As a side note, I'd also like to advocate for the tube slide at Al Qual as an almost unique activity that our city has the capability to offer. If the city is again considering spending thousands of taxpayer dollars on a public relations firm, I suggest that some of that money could better be spent in support of our library's budget. I'm concerned that there doesn't seem to be anyone in city administration able to keep the public informed about city affairs, if that's the reason for outsourcing this task. I sincerely hope that you'll find a way to completely fund the budget requested by library personnel and supported by the library board. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Okay, I think I saw another hand up. Yep, Ray, go ahead.
My
My name is Raymond Olds. I live at 1165 9th Street here in Ishpeming. I would like to talk to you about the condition of the Ishpeming tennis courts. They are in such bad shape that most of the cities that our schools play tennis against will not come here because it is an unsafe tennis court. Our girls won the districts and the UPs for the first time in the history of Ishpeming, and we couldn't play on our own courts. One time this year that I know of, we played, and we could only use the upper courts because the bottom ones are in such bad shape. I'd like this council to consider new tennis courts for our kids. Another thing I'd like to talk to you about, and it has concerned me for many years, is that the voting place for the city of Ishpeming is at the Birchview School. And it seems to me that that would be not a very good place to have anybody can walk in that school because the doors are open. Maybe we could use the lodge, or maybe we could find a better voting place instead of a school to do our voting. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else? Okay, Claudia.
Claudia Demarest, 821 Marie Street in Ishpeming. First of all, you are not on TV. This is what's on channel 189.
Okay. Craig is working on that.
Okay. What happened to agenda comment? We used to get 3 minutes under agenda comment, where residents could reserve time to address an agenda item. And old and new business is gone. Oh, that's right, no one is going to answer that for me. The council passed a revised city council rules of procedure policy, July 12th, 2023, and that's when these items were removed. I don't know who wrote this up, but in my opinion, the council needs to amend this policy and put those items back on the agenda. The old policy had 2.5 pages. This one has 11 pages. All you have to do is follow the charter, the Open Meeting Act, and Robert's Rules of Order.
Okay, thank you. It says we are, okay. I believe it says we're streaming it, so. Okay, next, Mike.
Okay, Mike Tonkin, 612 North 3rd Street in Ishpeming. And I'm not going to ask any questions. I just want to make a few statements of what I see going on. Okay. I don't know how many people here are fans of Greek or Roman history. This is Janus, the god with 2 faces. And this is the way people are perceiving the city right now. They get 2 different answers to things. One's a correct answer, and one is one that makes them feel better. And we get stabbed in the back constantly. I'm hearing people getting reprisals against them, and it's the same old tune. So here's my reset. Okay, we've got to straighten up our priorities. We got to stop building things that we can't maintain. We just blew over $300 and some thousand building a campground out here that we didn't need. We need a campground like a hole in the head. We're competing against a local business by doing this. I can't see this, and I hope you prove me wrong when it breaks even. And that will be interesting to see. And I never did get a straight answer as far as who was pushing this and who was on the committees and other such things. We've got to stop squandering our money. This $200 and some thousand that we borrowed from the other sections of the city to shore up the project that went way over budget is one of the prime examples. One of the other examples is, as Ms. Andrews just mentioned, was paying people to tell us how good we feel and how wonderful things are, but we're not making steps forward in the basics. We've got to start listening to the public, stop wasting money on things we don't need, and have a little respect for people when they come forward with problems and issues. We get too many excuses. Oh, we've tried that. Oh, we can do something about that. I'll get back to you. The chain of command is really starting to fall apart in this town. You used to be able to go, and when I was on the council, I would tell people, you have a problem with the Garbage pickup, call City Hall, you talk to so-and-so, talk to such and such. If you don't get anywhere, then get back to me, we'll work it up till we get to the top level. That apparently is gone. So at least that's what I'm hearing on the street and from the public. We need to get back to the basics. We need safe streets, safe water, safe sewage systems, and let's get things straight again. We're out wandering around looking for projects and things. We've got so much little stuff that's got to be taken care of. And that $400,000 that was squandered could be easily used up fixing streets, fixing sewers, and whatever else we can find. But we've got to start getting back to the basics. The public has lost trust in the staff and the council. And I appreciate the mayor having his monthly meetings, because people here, and there's a few people here that were at that meeting, we can discuss things openly without any repercussions, without any prejudice, which is something that we don't have otherwise. And those comments have come up. And it's tough to get communication going again. And when you don't respect your public, it falls apart. The public has lost trust in the staff in this town. And I think I've said enough for today. Remember, this is the guy from 2,000 some odd years ago, and it's still happening today. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to speak? Okay,
John Schooler, 772 Michigan Street. Probably remember me from last month and the month before, and the month before. But anyway, I'm still waiting to hear from somebody about the insurance claim that I put in. Haven't heard anything yet. So I would like to have somebody look into it and find out what's going on and why it got denied when we all know there was a pothole. The other thing that I would like to bring up is, great, they fixed Empire Street. There's still that big bump right where they patched it. It's not as big. And what's going on with the snow removal this year? Are we going to remove snow off of the sidewalk, between the sidewalk and the curb, so we don't have overabundance of water going down the drains and destroying them even more than what they already are? What else can we do? Maintenance on the roads. We haven't had that in years. It needs to start, and we need to start doing it today, yesterday, a month ago. And quit telling your insurance company that they're unaware of any potholes. This whole town is full of potholes and not being taken care of. So when I spend $4,100, the city's gonna wind up paying more than that. So I suggest somebody from the council call the insurance company and figure out what they're going to do about it. And I expect a phone call. It's been 2 months and I still have not gotten a phone call. This is pretty, how do you want to say it? I'm not even going to say the word that I was going to say. But anyway, I expect a phone call within a week. Otherwise, I will be going to the next step. And it's not going to be easy on you guys, I'll tell you that. And there's going to be certain people that are going to be brought up in this. And we all know who the person is that I mentioned the last time. I'm not going to say the name, but he's in this room. So, yeah.
no, we're not going to get into that. We're not going to, no. Please remain
Oh, I'm going to. And the other thing I
Proper
want to
decorum.
ask is I understand we have the parking ban. So are we still going to issue tickets? I mean, or can we park on the roads now, or are you guys being lenient with that yet, as far as parking on the streets? I don't know if you can answer, so I guess I'll ask you afterwards. So, all right, hopefully I get a phone call within a week to let me know a determination what I'm going to do for my next step. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to speak during public comment? Anybody on Zoom? Okay, if you are on Zoom and you'd like to speak, you can, yes, you can come up here. Just raise your hand, use the raise your hand feature.
Okay,
Okay,
I understand that.
can you please,
Oh, my name is Mary Farmer. I live at 415 South Lake Street, Ishpeming, Michigan. You know the rest. I want to know why the Mark Tran bus stopping at the senior high rise. Those people have to walk all the way down the hill in order to get the bus. Some of them can't do that. I probably couldn't myself. But anyway, is there any way that you can get in touch with Mark Tran for these poor people that they can't do it? The bus only takes them as far as Jubilee. Well, they don't have the money to spend. They used to go down to Walmart and they had 1 hour. So they'd like to see about getting that back. If there's any way you could help them out, it would be well appreciated. And I also understand that we have ladies' night out next week. Where's there for us to go? There's nothing in Ishpeming. It's not like it used to be 30 years ago. So maybe you can get some businesses to, I don't know what you can do, but we need some more we need to get some attraction into this town. You know, we need a nice coffee shop. Everywhere is coffee shops. Well, who wants just to go in and pay $7 for a cup of coffee and not even be offered a donut? You know? And I think just get a baker in here. Get a baker in this town. So it's up to you guys to, I would appreciate if you'd help the seniors out, because I might be there myself shortly. You never know. Okay, thank you.
okay, thank you. Okay, is there anybody else in the room that would like to speak or on Zoom? This is last call. Hearing none, public comment is now closed. There will be a public comment at the end of the meeting that is limited to 3 minutes. Okay, moving on to the approval of the agenda.
I'll move that we approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second that.
Okay. We have a motion and support. Craig's fixing the camera. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, nay. Okay. Passes. Moving on to the consent agenda. There's a few things here. So minutes of the previous meetings, October 4th, October 18th, and October 25th. Approval of disbursements. Reappoint Jim Bertucci to 3-year term on the wastewater treatment board with a term expiring 12 of 2026. Reappoint Brad Waters and Joseph Pelkala to 3-year terms on the Commission on Aging with term expiring 9 of 2026. Reappoint Jacqueline Healy to a 5-year term on the Housing Commission, term expiring 10 of 2028. Appoint Corey Richards to fill the vacancy on the Planning Commission, term expiring 11 of 2024. I believe there's still one more vacancy. Nope, never mind. That's next. Appoint Philip Carter to a 3-year term on the Planning Commission with the term expiring 11 of 2026. There we go. Nominate Ed Anderson for reappointment to the Mark Tran Board, term expiring 12 of 2026. Confirm payment to Prime Specialty for emergency repairs to City Hall heating system pumps and declare 143 library books as surplus.
Your Honor, I'll move we accept the consent agenda as presented.
And I will second.
Okay, motion and support. Any further questions, comments? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Consent agenda is adopted. Moving on to number 7, monthly financial statement report. Grant.
Okay, moving through our unaudited balance sheet excerpt for the city of Ishpeming. We'll start with the general fund. In October, the general fund received $186K in state revenue sharing, as well as a $19,000 distribution of net assets from the MMRMA, and $14,000 for the administration of the Partridge Creek Compost Grant. $162,000 in wages and benefits, in addition to $93,000 in hospitalization and other insurance costs were the largest expenditures for the month. Roughly 57% of general fund personnel costs recorded in October were public safety related, followed by library at 11%, parks and cemetery at 11%. The net revenues and expenditures year to date stand at 324,000 expenditures over revenues, bringing the ending fund balance to 819,000. In major streets, the payments which we discussed last month from the state were received, and that did bring our net revenues over expenditures year to date up into the positive at 68,000. $146,000 change from last month. Personnel costs and vehicle rentals continue to make up the bulk of monthly expenditures. In local streets, similar to major streets, our state payments were received, although we are still $231,000 or $100,000 in the negative for the year. Our ending fund balance is $670,000. For the DDA, we had a $5,000 contribution, which was sent to help make up for a shortage in funding for the Lake Bancroft Playground. That drives most of the change in that fund for October. For Public Improvement Fund, we made a final lease payment on our 2021 Dodge Durango police vehicle, $7,000 in repairs to cemetery fencing, and purchased $5,000 in equipment for the new police truck that was recently acquired. That brings our ending fund balance in public improvement down to $889,000. For the sewer fund, sewer revenues came in just over $150K for October. Major expenditures driving the large year-to-date decrease in fund balance continue to be a product of the sewer project and mainly engineering and bond issuance efforts. The sewer fund is anticipating to see reimbursement for these costs prior to year end. Revenues for the month of October surpassed expenditures $41,000. Treatment costs of $49K were the single largest expense in the sewer fund. In the water fund, our system usage dropped 2.4 million gallons August to September, which is paid in October. And the city saw a $6,000 reduction in its water bill as a result. Revenues for the fund were $222,000, with metered sales making up $213,000 of the total. Moving on to the garbage and recycle fund. As was noted in September, unfavorable timing had resulted in a slight decrease in fund balance. And as seen, that short trend has reversed at month end. The garbage fund has picked up to $12K in revenues over expenditures, so that's good. In the motor pool fund, rental revenues of $43K were recorded in October. Supply costs of $15K, wage costs of $10K, and R&M costs of $8K represent most of the expenditures in the motor pool fund for the month. Ending balance at $1.3 million, so still very healthy. Police and fire retirement, we continued to see the effect of unfavorable market conditions, continuing a trend from August and September. We had a decrease of $146K month over month in the police and fire retirement fund. Year-to-date summary, we have a beginning fund balance, January of 29 million, net revenues and expenditures for the funds listed above of 575,000, and an ending fund balance of the funds listed above at 30.3 million.
year-to-date.
Your
Okay,
Honor, I move that we accept the financial report, the unaudited financial report as presented.
Second.
okay, we have a motion and support. Any further questions, comments, or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Now we are moving on to number 8, public hearing on the 2024 budget and millage rates. I will open the public hearing, correct? Public hearing is open at 6:27 PM. Okay, and if there is anybody in the public that does want to speak regarding the budget, they may do so at this time as well. Okay, Ray, go ahead.
Want me to say my name again? Raymond
Yeah.
Olds, 1165 9th Street.
1 second, we're turning the camera. Is there-
I didn't have a chance to look at all of the budget, but I think there's a lot that has to be looked over again. I see we are looking at a $245,000 sidewalk plow because the one we have is difficult to plow the sidewalks with. But I've talked to a lot of firefighters and we're looking at, we need fire trucks too. And I think a fire truck would be a lot better place to maybe put that money toward than a sidewalk plow. If we have one that's doing the job, because that fire truck, if they're not gonna do the job, it's gonna hurt our city a lot. So I would consider looking over that budget and maybe doing something a little different. Thank you.
Okay. Is there anybody else that would like to speak? Okay, go ahead, Claudia. And just so everybody knows, it is a 3-minute time limit in the public hearing.
Claudia Demarest, 821 Marie Street in Ishpeming. The 2024 budget is not going to start out with a deficit thanks to $160,000 to $165,000 being transferred from the motor pool fund into the general fund. We'll be starting out with $400. That's what was said at a previous meeting by the finance director. Not $400,000, $400. I've gone through this budget and there are a lot of cuts that can be made, starting with the Lake Superior Partnership was $50,000. Siren Communication, which is sucking $8,950 a month, $4,000 a year from this city. They're splitting this from the general fund, the water fund, and the sewer fund. You have approximately 5 months left on this contract, which is $44,750. The city can terminate this contract with 60 days written notice and a flat rate fee of $13,425, which would save the city $31,325. DPW wants a new Gator at $33,549, plus a new pickup truck for $40,000, and a sidewalk plow at $245,000. This isn't like when the Christmas catalog came out and we could go through it and circle what we wanted Santa to bring. The City of Ishpeming Santa Fund doesn't have the money. Oh, I forgot. The city doesn't have a Santa fund. Take out the 3 items the DPW wants and the savings from Siren and the Lake Superior Partnership, and you would have an approximate savings of just under $400,000.
Okay, is there anybody else that would like to speak about the budget? Okay, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Ann Olds, 1165 9th Street. Am I allowed to ask you questions and you answer questions on this? No, okay. I guess then I have a question about, as part of this proposed budget package, there's a page that says the property tax millage rate proposed to be levied to support the proposed budget will be a subject of this hearing. 20.9363 mils. I have a concern about that because that's quite an increase over last year, as far as what I'm looking at it, unless I'm looking at things wrong. As part of the new capital improvements proposed for 2024, there's a roof for the lodge. I'm assuming you're talking about the lodge out at Al Qual. We were told probably 6 to 8 months ago that that lodge was unrepairable and that we would need to consider building a new lodge. So I'm kind of wondering why we're spending $110,000 to fix the roof on it. And the new meters for the water department, $370,000 for radio meter installations. I'm not quite sure why that's necessary. It just doesn't seem logical to me to spend that kind of money on those meters. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to speak during comment on the budget? Okay. Second is the chance. Is there anybody that would like to speak on the budget? Hearing none. Anybody? No attendees. So closing the public hearing at 6:32 p.m. And are we talking? Okay, is there anybody on council that would like to discuss anything from the budget tonight?
Not at this time.
Not at this time. Nope.
Can I make a few
You may,
comments that
yes.
might be helpful?
Mhm,
to the
sure.
comments? Is that okay?
Go ahead, Grant.
Okay, so I want to go over just a few things here. And I do appreciate everybody's time and interest in the city budget. It's wonderful to see people engaged and looking into how the city spends its resources. I just wanted to quickly address the library budget real quick. I'm not sure where the comment came from or where people are seeing this, but I have a $18,000 increase to the library budget over last year, not that the library went $18,000 over budget in this year. I think that's important to clear up. They had a reduction to some supply lines in order to help fund their increased staffing hours, which they were requesting. So the library, as the budget was initially proposed, was getting an $18,000 increase to its 2024 budget over 2023. So just to make sure that everybody has a good understanding of that. The other thing, and one of the challenges that I wanted to present, and this is kind of part of the weird thing with municipal finance, is we have lots of different funds, right? And the general fund is the big one, and that's the one that's tight. That's the one we're trying to find some answers for right now. A lot of these purchases, which we're seeing, it's a different fund, it's different money, and we can't necessarily just transfer money through back and forth to different funds without a good justification to do so. So the gator, the sidewalk plow, stuff like that, that's coming out of the public improvement fund. So when we're talking about a general fund that's very tight, we of course see that it's tight, but just so that, everybody has a little more background on what we're looking at and what we're trying to find. That's all I have. If anyone has any questions, here, 8 to 5.
Can you explain how the meter program is
Oh,
funded too?
of course. And the meter program, again, is not funded out of the general fund. It's funded out of the water and sewer funds. We run our water and sewer funds like separate businesses. They're called enterprise funds. And part of the importance of replacing some of that old meter infrastructure is we actually have meters which are failing out in the field. Our current meters are very old. And one of the benefits that these radio meters will provide to residents is if you think you have a leak or you have high usage, we can actually look into what time of day your water bill or your water usage is going up, what time of day the meter's ticking. It can help you pinpoint a bad appliance. We can get reads more efficiently. I think a lot of utilities in the area, I know at the Board of Light and Power, we had moved to radio infrastructure a long time ago. It's a pretty common thing for utilities to do in this day and age. And that cost actually did go down significantly thanks to Bill with some creative problem solving. We changed the way in which we were installing those meters using not press fittings. Is it press fittings? Yeah, I'm not a plumber, so. But we've actually found ways to reduce those costs as well. I do think in the long run, it'll be a cost savings to the city because we can provide accurate reads. We can ensure that we're billing customers accurately. And also we can cut down on our meter reading time.
There was some grant funding.
Oh, and we also, excuse me, thank you, Craig. We did have a $250,000 grant that was carried out for that project that helped fund some of those costs in 2023 and 2022, I believe.
Okay, so I do have, I guess, a few questions. At the last meeting, we did discuss some possible changes or alternatives to the proposed budget. And I'm wondering if council wants to discuss that, or if we are going to set up any time to look at that or put any amendments on our next meeting, as we are only a few months away from this budget going into effect.
I'd like to.
Lindsay, go ahead.
I'd like to postpone any discussion until we have a full council.
Okay. And like I said,
Whether
I'm
that's a
just,
special meeting or whether that's I guess it would have to be a special meeting if it was going to go before it was adopted.
okay.
Because I'm not opposed to a special meeting. I will be gone the entire week of Thanksgiving.
Okay.
So, but if we, as I understand it, the budget is a fluid living document, and if it is adopted as is, there isn't any reason that we can't continue discussion of it and make any adoptions or amendments to it after, or rather not adoptions, but amendments to it after it has been adopted as our official
Right.
budget for the year. So I don't think there's any harm in waiting and discussing it at our next regularly scheduled meeting, when I would hope that all 5 council people would be here.
Yeah, and I wouldn't mind us having a special before it goes into effect. I don't know what Pat feels on that. I mean, we do have the 27th, 28th, 29th that we could set one up. And that would just possibly just clear some stuff up before it does go into effect. Because we would have to make any of those changes and have those discussions at the December meeting anyway, especially for some of those.
I have
Changes.
no problem with the special meeting,
Okay. Could,
just to schedule one.
yeah, I would like to, the week of the 27th. Does that work for you
Sure.
guys? Can we kind of look at,
So your policy said that you would do it on Wednesdays.
Wednesdays,
So
which
that
is
would make
fine,
it the 29th.
as long as it's okay with them, yeah. Wednesday, 29th, is that okay with you guys? Sure. Okay.
If the other two.
If the other two, or at least if one of the other, to have 4 out of 5 would be even better.
Wednesday's the 29th.
November 29th is Wednesday, yes.
And at the usual time.
Yeah, 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
Perfect. Okay, so let's get that tentatively on the books, and at least 4 members of council would be great. 5 would be better, but we don't know what everybody's schedule is going to be like for this winter. So we'll go along with that unless we hear otherwise. Sound good? Perfect. Okay. Moving on to special event applications. We have Northern Michigan University NCAA Ski Race, January 19th through the 21st, 2024. Landowners authorization for race sanctioning. We have the Ishpeming Community Events, Christmas festivities and parade permit for November to December 2023. The Ishpa Turkey Trot, November 23rd, 2023. And the Ishpeming Ski Jumping Tournament, January 19th and 20th, 2024.
Connor, I move that if all requirements have been met and they're all common common events, that we approve it as presented this evening.
Okay, we have a motion.
I will second, but my question is that for all 4 of those? Or are you doing one
I'm
at a
talking
time?
about a group, as a group.
Okay, all right. Yes, I would support approving all 4 of those.
Okay, we have a motion and support. Is there any further discussion?
Did that include the land authorization for the race?
Yes.
Yeah, we'll include that. Yep. Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The special event applications A, B, C, and D are have been approved. Moving on to second reading of ordinance 11-2700, payment in lieu of taxes, Anderson Lofts and Peninsula Lofts. Craig?
Kathy, do we need to do a name change on that, or are we good? Okay, so the ordinance includes a name change from the Anderson Loft to the Peninsula Lofts.
Okay. Can you
But-
speak up a little bit,
Yeah,
Craig? Sorry.
So the ordinance, second reading, includes a name change for the development, and that's just part of their process and what they need to do in order to meet some criteria. We have a representative for the development here, if you have any questions related to that. But this approval is one of the last wickets before we can get this packet down to the state. Their application timeline is December 1st.
Okay.
And so this will, in general terms, approving this and getting this ordinance through creates opportunity for the city to see 3 new retail spaces and up to 24 new apartments in the downtown area as
Okay.
part of this proposed ordinance.
And the name change, do we have a name? What is the name change on that one?
CJ, you want to tell us what the name change is? I don't recall.
And maybe just a quick explanation would be good.
Good evening, I'm CJ Felton with Community Housing Network. The only thing we did is change the name of the development itself from CHN Anderson Peninsula, LDHALP, which is a very complicated thing, to CHN Ishpeming, LDHALP. This will be much easier for us and will prevent a lot of typos over the years. Other than that, everything else is the same. Although, excellent point, we did agree last month when we were here to raise the percentage of the rent to 7% from 4%. And I believe that's reflected in what's in front of you in the ordinance.
That is true. Thank you.
Okay,
All right, thank you.
thank you. Do I have a motion to approve?
Yes,
Go ahead.
I would make a motion that we approve the second reading of ordinance number 11-2700, tax exemption ordinance.
And support with kudos to our newest council person for negotiating a few more.
Yeah, yeah. Well done, Renell, in absentia. Okay. No further discussion? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The the ordinance 11-2700, payment in lieu of taxes, has now been adopted. Moving on, number 11, Siren Communications Update. Adela and Craig, please.
Hello.
Hey, Adela, go ahead.
Hey, so I do have a slide deck to accompany the communication progress report
Okay.
that Jason's queuing up. Thank you. There it is. So I'll start by saying thank you for having me tonight. I see that it's a rather long agenda, so I will try to be brief. You've all had some time with this progress report, so certainly will not be reading it line by line, item by item, but we will be highlighting a few key things. And I am joined today by 2 of our team members as well, so glad to have them here. let's get started, shall we?
Adela, would you mind introducing them to the
Oh,
council so we have
sure.
kind of
Yes.
an idea?
Nick Conroy is an assistant account executive with Siren. He's an Ishpeming local as well. And Tristan Luce is also from Marquette County, and they're both
Wonderful.
here with us
Thank
today.
you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Put some names to the faces to the names.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, slide, please. So first, just a very brief reminder of how we got here. Starting just over a year ago, I met Craig at a Michigan Municipal League conference. From there, we went to presenting to council for the first time, actually November of last year, so a year ago. And then responding to the city-issued RFP and beginning our partnership in April of this year. So to clarify, the progress report that you see today, that we'll be going over today, is for the first 6 months of our agreement. Slide, please. When we began, we structured our work together based on these priorities. This was based on conversation that we had and pre-discovery that we had. And we then structured the report that we're going over today to also address these communication priorities. Because we know how important communication is to all of the residents and to council, we were then using this to kind of guide our work and our efforts. So throughout the report, you'll see sections pertaining to specifically capacity building, reputation improvement, and increased proactive and transparent communication. Slide, please. Before we get into reporting out on progress, I wanted to share this graphic with you to reintroduce the concept of a PESO model. We use this to organize the many different communication channels or methods that exist, and especially the ones that we activate for clients. So as a way to make sense of this, because I do realize that, although I spend my days in communication land and marketing land and all of these things, some of the terminology that you see throughout and you may hear might not be as familiar. So we wanted to put this here as a reminder. Most importantly, as it pertains to this report, you'll hear about earned and shared methods for the city of Ishpeming. That earned refers to media relations. So anytime Ishpeming is in the news, and for shared, that refers to social media in this case, and specifically the city's Facebook page. So for a very quick review, I'll say that the city has had no paid efforts at all, meaning that all of the results were earned organically. There was not additional ad dollars spent, there was not additional boosting or any other additional spend. Much of the results to date have been in the earned category, meaning media relations. So again, when you hear or see Ishpeming in the news online, in print, on the radio, or on TV, and a fair portion of communication that has occurred to date has happened over social media channels in the shared section. For the city-owned communication methods have included website updates, Brasswire Campground website, and Channel 189, both content and troubleshooting. So very excited, even though technically this happened after the first 6 months just yesterday, but Channel 189 is now up and running. So the slides are on.
Please.
But yeah, forgive me, I will
please
not engage. Okay. Also, the end of the report includes a glossary in case any of these terms are need clarification. Slide, please. So as a way of highlighting, the first 6 months have included some of these big picture things, 16 media campaigns. This includes kind of your formal press releases. It also includes one-off pitches and opportunities to engage in both proactive and reactive media inquiries. 77 social media posts, and we've had a public survey that was open as well, citywide, a community listening session, one press conference, and we've had at least 8, this is a rough count, of stakeholder meetings as well, representing the city in some critical relationships, including with partners on grants and neighboring municipalities and things like that. Slide, please. So starting with a look at increased communication that's made possible through our partnership. This is in large part through media and social media. Progress is being made each day. Slide, please. First, we'll say that earned media coverage, as a reminder, refers to media that is secured through editorial decisions, not the purchase of advertisements. So if we dig into this a little bit, we see that the media will cover news coming out of the city, whether or not the city takes any measures at all. The impact of our partnership, however, is in the accuracy, depth, and narrative of the coverage. For example, announcing the city's successful MERS pension funding news. Again, this would have been covered, it would have made headlines anyway, but our added capacity added life to the story, not only highlighting the proactive nature of the city to solve this issue on its own with UPR grit and determination, but also the city's fiscal know-how that it showed when it went above and beyond to secure available funds that the state made available after the fact and were retroactively allowable for the city to go after. Additionally, we were able to add in the voice of a local state rep to the conversation and increase the not only visibility, but also the credibility of the city's approach there. Additionally, we've been able to ease the burden of logistics around interview coordination. This has resulted in city representatives taking part in more interviews when news does come up, building deeper relationships with news outlets and reporters, and creating an atmosphere of cooperation with the news media. Gone are the days of scrambling to prepare because we bring that added preparation and logistical support in our partnership. In all, the reputation of the city since we've gotten started has improved, due in part to the increased attention and added details that we've been able to convey through earned media coverage. I will say here, since the glossary is at the end, I want to have a glossary moment and talk about publicity value. This is an industry standard of measurement, and it refers to the advertising equivalent of an earned media exposure. For example, the cost of a front page advertisement, the money that you would pay to have a front page advertisement, above the fold, in color, all that good stuff, versus a front page story that was earned, and there's no financial transaction with that because of a story being pitched and coordinated with local media with no additional cost. That is what publicity value refers to, and again, that is an industry standard of measurement. Slide, please. Here we just have some snapshots, some of the examples of local coverage. Slide, please. We're not going to spend a lot of time here. However, we did want you to have the context of this. With national media pickups added in, the numbers that you saw on the slide previous grow much larger. But these instances are rare, and we're more focused on local media to help tell Ishpeming stories. So this is less important information.
But it's still impressive, that 300 million audience, including the...
Certainly. Fun fact, the Marquette media market, which like central UP, basically, the media market is sized 186 out of 200 nationwide, which basically means that when news from this community or really any others in the UP goes national, the numbers get humongous. So if we were in Los Angeles or New York or Chicago and we had a story go national, we wouldn't see such a significant jump because those numbers are already larger. And in fact, a lot of the media within this market is so small, frankly, that the numbers aren't even reported out. So probably the local slide is a little bit on the low side, but as far as data capture goes, that's what we have available to us. Next slide, please. Okay. A large sinkhole shutting down a road in a community would make headlines, and it did. But the accompanying narrative that the city was proactively asking its residents to stay away for their safety and that they were pursuing talks with the mining company to resolve the issue tells a much different story than simply a road closed notice would have told. The added details suggest strategically show that the city is concerned about its citizens and taking seriously their duty to maintain safe infrastructure by initiating talks with parallel parties. The fact that a sinkhole was flagged as positive sentiment is due entirely to the proactive nature of the communication and the narrative of safety and concern around sharing this information. So in this case, all of the news was recorded as online, meaning that it was on online news websites. It was picked up nationally, which is why the numbers are so large. A brief explanation here, again, from a glossary perspective. Sentiment, you see here that the bulk of the sentiment around this was noted as positive. Again, a sinkhole being noted as positive is not a typical outcome, but getting ahead of the story, focusing on safety, focusing on working to solve the problem. All of these things contributed to the narrative. So the term sentiment, the way that that's measured is an AI-generated reporting, and it indicates that if the overall coverage is deemed positive, neutral, or negative. And this has been noted, like from a best practice standpoint, as a measure that can coincide with reputation measurement as well. So again, the fact that, we knew it would make headlines, that's why we got out ahead of it, and the outcome ended up better than it would have otherwise if we had just kind of sat back and said, hey, the road's closed. Okay, slide please. Really, the reason it went so big is because Yahoo picked it up. So there's just a few of the sample headlines. Slide, please. Now let's shift into shared. If we remember the pyramid from earlier on, we're now into shared. So let's talk about social media. These tables show the difference from the benchmark period of October 1st, 2022 to March 31st of 2023, which is the 6 months directly before the 6 months that we measure in this first 6 months progress report. Significant improvements in the volume, quality, and the likelihood of two-way communication over social channels is what you can see here. Some highlights include post link clicks. Those went up 3,800 and some change %, meaning that many more people are getting the information even beyond what the posts are telling them, means they're clicking through. They're clicking more, they're clicking on the link, they're clicking on the post in order to see the additional information than what they see when they're just first scrolling through. Engagements went up nearly 270%, meaning that more people are interacting with the posts, likes, shares, comments, that sort of thing. And impressions went up over 150%, meaning that more people are seeing the posts in the first place. Slide, please. Here's just a look at some of the top posts from the last 6 months. And I do want to note here that all of these analytics were earned organically. Again, that is notable because increasingly these days, these free platforms, including X, formerly known as Twitter, including Instagram, including even LinkedIn, Facebook, of course, are creating algorithms that make it harder and harder and harder to be successful unless you're throwing additional money at it. So the fact that these results were earned organically is notable. And I'd like to note as well that healing the city's relationships with its residents is a long, long road. But these data tell us that we are well on our way on that road. Social media is not the only place where that needs to happen. There needs to be a lot of additional channels, a lot of FaceTime, a lot of one-on-one conversations. There's a lot of work to do, but this is a small indicator that that work is beginning. Slide, please. Next, we'll focus specifically on some reputation improvement examples. Slide. The first of which is blight. We heard reinforced what the city already knew, which is that blight is an area of concern for its residents, as well as for the city during the public survey, which was open during the summer. In fact, blight was ranked as the 4th biggest challenge that the city was facing. Some direct quotes include unique in a bad way too many rundown houses, negative reputation about urban blight, the things that we've all heard, certainly, if we've been paying any attention at all. However, strides were made toward blight remediation and elimination in 2023, thanks to a strong partnership between the city and the Marquette County Land Bank, who was the mechanism and the funding source for key blight elimination projects that happened this year. And also benefited from the increased communication and visibility around the efforts and the hard work on both sides, the city as well as the land bank. Slide, please. These headlines and comments are great indicators that once again, the reputation of the city, maybe ever so slightly, is related in relation to blight is beginning to change for the positive. We had some good engagement and some good headlines that helped things along. Slide, please. Next, we'll talk about an example, the public comment for infrastructure funding. Long talked about, in fact, we've heard it today already, that an area for improvement for the city is around infrastructure, roads, pipes, potholes, all of the things. We heard it in the survey, again, the public survey, and of course during council meetings, and educating residents about the behind the scenes workings of funding to support such improvements is ongoing. So when an opportunity for residents and business owners to tell the state about their desire for infrastructure improvements in Ishpeming came about, we took and ran with it, and we invited them to speak up. And then a wonderful thing happened because it worked, and the voices united, quite literally tipped Ishpeming into fundable range and was even called out. You can see the blue highlight there. This was statewide communication that went out related to the grant process and announcing that Ishpeming was now moved into fundable range, whereas prior to the public comment period, it was not. This is in relation to the 20 million funding that's half grant and half loan, low interest loan. So that was a wonderful thing that communication helped along. Slide, please. You may recall that an incident occurred within city limits. By its very nature, this was going to make headlines. Again, even if the city does nothing, it will be covered in the news. However, we streamlined media relations around this. We were able to provide media training to a detective. We set up a press conference, and we were able to quickly and transparently answer questions because, of course, a headline such as this was going to generate a lot of questions. And the increased communication really showed that the city was willing to share information. In fact, during that press conference, I believe every single journalist in the room shared how appreciative they were that the city was stepping up to do this and have the press conference to share the information proactively, that they weren't going to have to go digging for it. We were able to include some narrative into the story, including the quote that you see here that's highlighted. this terrible thing happened, and it was going to be covered anyway, and it could have just said, this terrible thing happened in the city of Ishpeming, but we were able to get a word in from an authority voice within the city to reiterate this is absolutely not going to be condoned in the city. So this is another example of ways in which communication can help inch by inch, little by little, with that reputation improvement. Slide, please. Last example here, the city's ramped up communication, this contract in particular. We, in our first 6 months, we've heard folks tell us about their willingness to remain open and objective to the city's efforts at increased communication. After council repeatedly asked for increased communication, and then city staff took action to seek out a partner to help that. These are just some snapshots of some of the folks who have maybe didn't even start out open to the idea necessarily, but who landed there. So we've heard some positivity along the way. Of course, not all positivity, but certainly some. Slide, please. Slide. Okay, so capacity building, the communication contract is that it is certainly communication focused, and it is a capacity building value as well, because we are able to, first of all, increase the level of communication, and second of all, by doing so, free up time from city staff. Some of the ways that can look with that time that isn't being spent answering Facebook comments, because we're doing that instead, and chasing, coordinating interviews and whatnot, all of these other things. One such example is, first of all, being recognized by a statewide organization for this innovative approach to capacity building and being invited to speak on it in multiple instances. So Craig did that alongside with Christopher Germain from LSCP in relation to capacity building efforts, kind of in this innovative way on behalf of the city. Well, at one of those conferences led to meeting with, I think CJ left, but with the folks from Community Housing Network, who are now looking to lead a major development in the city's downtown. Would those paths have crossed otherwise? We can't say for sure. I'm certainly, let me be very clear, I'm not taking credit for that. I'm just pointing out the fact that, first of all, this innovative approach is catching attention. Second of all, it is freeing up valuable time. I'm not going to go out there and write a grant, but Craig can write grants, and he has. There's 4 examples right here at the bottom. So it does build capacity to have a team like ours by your side. Slide, please. This is some of our team, simply here to show you additional faces. There are 3 people on the account who are born Upers and truly know and understand what it's like to live here. So I think that part matters a lot. We're not some big city firm that's coming in here trying to do things the city way. We know what it's like here. We are well-versed in what we're doing, and what works for communication between governments and residents. Slide, please. Lastly, we're going to do a quick contractual update. Slide, please. The colors indicate here, green items indicate successful ongoing execution. These are parts of the ongoing communication partnership. Our agreement is split into 2 parts, ongoing and strategic communication project. So as it relates to ongoing communication, these things are all underway or have successfully occurred. Slide, please. Additionally, with these, and I would like to note the red under earned media, this indicates a pivot or not completed. In this case, we decided together and properly documented the change to shift from email communication to taking on content creation for Channel 189. And as I mentioned earlier, there's been a lot of time put into the troubleshooting between the tech partners and the streaming partners in order to get that up and running.
Sorry, let me make sure that's clear too. We're talking about the slide creation that is a streaming slide.
Yeah.
The streaming issue with the media of this meeting is a technical glitch, and that's on us, working with the folks that put this in and Spectrum. They don't troubleshoot the streaming of our meetings. So if there's a streaming issue, that has nothing to do with this. We're talking about the slide creation, putting out information and having those slides flashing across channel 189 on a frequency. There was some hiccups in getting the slides in a format, dialing into this system, which sits behind a wall, not in their office, making sure those slides can be read and processed and presented on the slide. So that's what we're talking about, just to be clear as far as how that goes with the communications project.
Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah. And then lastly, the yellow indicates an in-progress item. So while we have been creating reports, including for specific media campaigns and reporting them as well as a result of the public survey deployed over the summer, this is our first presentation to council. So I do want to acknowledge that hasn't occurred per quarter yet. Slide, please. The discovery phase of the strategic communication project is all successfully completed. Slide, please. And the writing and planning phase of the strategic communication project is in progress. Day-to-day and urgent timely needs have taken priority and stretched this timeline beyond what was originally planned, which was that it would be completed in full in the first 6 months. However, we do anticipate having these items wrapped up by the end of the year. Slide, please. Coming up next are increased ongoing communication as outlined, and specifically including the items that were either yellow or red on the slides before. So getting those across the finish line and doing all of the day-to-day ongoing stuff that we do for the city. Slide. And I will stop short of putting the glossary up here, but that concludes our update.
Adele, I would personally like to thank you, and I know that we've heard some who may not understand the value of having a communications firm like this for the city, but there's a lot of things that we wouldn't have been able to accomplish as a city and as a council and without having a communications firm. We were all pretty skeptical, but we all came together on this. And I also have to say, I do 3 to 4 monthly segments through different media outlets a month, and Adela and Siren are there for me for all 4 of those. And I greatly appreciate that too. So on behalf of myself, thank you.
Thank you, Jason, for saying so. Yeah.
I would just add that I think that when we were talking about the numbers and the numbers of people that had been reached through those news stories, I think that, and you said this, but I would just like to underscore the fact that it's not the numbers that are so, I mean, the numbers are impressive, but like who really, we could look at that and say, okay, 3 million people or whatever saw it.
Yep.
What's the value of that? The value of that is that we were able to get ahead of those messages and that we had response and that they had a positive spin often on, or not a positive spin, but a positive light to something that otherwise could have been picked up and been very negative. So when we looked at entering into this contract, I mean, we've been talking for basically years, I think since Craig started, with how do we improve the reputation of the city of Ishpeming? How do we improve communication within the city? And, a lot of that back to the residents and also comes out through the news. So I think that the value in that is not the numbers, but in the quality and the stories and the information that's been behind that. People clicking through in links and getting more information, that's stuff that wasn't happening before. And so very happy that that's been happening. people come to public comment and they tell us the things that are bothering them. And it used to be, we don't know this or we don't know that, and we recognize that we had a pretty big communications problem. So, I mean, we can debate back and forth, but I think that it's been a very good positive, a very good benefit for the city.
Great.
I think that one of the biggest things that I've noticed in addition to what you
Microphone.
guys said was
You can, thanks.
I'm barely conscious, that it stopped the rumor mill. You know, example was when is the city gonna open Bluff Street? The city never closed Bluff Street except to make it safe. And then it's on the mining company. Things like that, because that, I don't know why, but that little minuscule of information takes off like wildfire. And the city gets a bad rep out of it when it had nothing to do with our decision. We took control, made it safe, and got everything squared away, and then we hand off to the mining company. Well, those kind of things happen pretty regular. And I think they've done a great job of getting the true story, if you will, the accurate information out, so I agree.
And to add to all of that, we don't have the capacity as a city to do everything that they can do. We would have to hire more than one person easily to do everything that they do for us. And one other thing I want to point out here, two of the people who work directly with Ishpeming are tied to Marquette County, and one of them is a homegrown Ishpeming person. So that also is a big impact on the community too, that they are employing local people.
So I want to just say, I think the term that Pat and Lindsay were trying to get at is controlling the narrative, right?
Yes.
Being in charge of the narratives, telling the story correctly for what it is, not supporting rumor mill, but also one of the greatest capacity items that they brought to the table for us is the response on social. Before, people would make a comment and it would just be left there. We weren't even watching for it. We didn't have time to watch for it. There's now people monitoring those comments and saying, hey, there's a comment that needs to be answered. This is important. Somebody's asking a question that deserves an answer, and they're reaching out and getting us to answer the question with the right answer and then posting that back so that people get that answer. They're looking for it on social. They're not sure who they're even talking to. They just know that they want an answer and they post on social and then they're getting it. And so when you see that engagement data and you see those clicks and those shares, it's because someone asked a question and they got an answer and then they shared it and then it got shared and then it got shared again. None of that is within the capacity of the city staff and the way they've been doing work. It's not that we don't want to answer the question. We're not able to sit on Facebook all day and look at it, where they've got a controlling function where they can monitor for those posts to come up, get an alert, tell us that they need to respond. They'll reach out to us, get an answer, and then put that answer out and ensure that the customers reach. If it requires an off social contact, they engage with us and say, hey, we've talked to this person. Here's their email or phone number. Can you reach out and have that engagement with them and have increased that engagement back with the community residents as well? That's the capacity that is gained for the city staff by having this strategic partner in place. So when we hear that the city, it's disturbing the city can't do it. Well, I think it's disturbing that I would be sitting there watching my computer for social media posts to pop up.
I would agree.
That would be probably not what a city manager should be doing. But it's expected that we respond, and sometimes those responses come from the city manager. But if we have somebody that can actually monitor and then just reach out and say, Craig, we need this answer. Can you talk to the staff, get the answer, and we'll post it? That's capacity. That's what this contract is doing, and that's absolutely what the residents deserve and actually are asking for. I don't think any of them would ever actually want me to sit and watch Facebook to see if someone's gonna actually post another question. But
Yep.
Thank you so much for the feedback.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on, number
switch cameras, sorry.
Yep. As we switch, we're moving on to number 12, approval to apply for redevelopment ready communities grant with a 20% city match. Excellent. We've been waiting for this stuff here.
So it's a weird system. Redevelopment Ready Communities has a lot of money when you're certified.
Yep.
It has almost zero when you're not certified.
Where are we on that? Can you provide a quick? You're
We're
going to?
We're going to
Perfect.
answer that right here.
Good.
So there's, depending on whether you're going for an essential or a certified, that essential is new this year as an option. This means that people, like communities that are small that can't go to this big full blown out certified community can still get registered as a certified community under essentials, meaning they've done most of the tasks within the capacity. There's $30,000 available or $40,000 available, depending on if you're essentials or certified and what path you're on. And so there's a desire for certified, there's a desire to get certified, period, but we'll jump to essential and then work to certified. We're not gonna quit essentials. So we're still trying to figure out if it's 30 or 40,000 as we talk to MEDC is what we're asking for. But there's only two portions left of our RRC packet that this money can be spent for. And that's on a marketing, which is like creating a branding packet with making sure, okay, we're always going to use this color, we're always going to use this font, we're always going to use this logo or these logos, we're always going to do books this way, we're going to do signs this way, we're going to do Facebook this way, we're going to do websites this way. Like it's a whole branding book.
Yep.
And it's marketing. And there's also an option to do zoning or a combination thereof. And zoning, the primary option is to make sure that now that we have a recently adopted new master plan, making sure that our zoning ordinances are up to date and include the correct new language associated with that zoning or with that master plan in the zoning, but then they cross-reference all of our zoning ordinances to make sure they're compliant with the most up-to-date information and that they're not in conflict with one another. And so we can use this grant for those two things, either individually as one, and all money applied to one side or the other, or split between them. So I've packaged up, and I'm working with MEDC who controls that purse string to make sure our package is right. The commitment is 20% of that amount. So 20% of a max of 40,000 is what I'm asking, because if they say that we're on the path to certified, then the grant would be for 40,000. And if it's only on essentials, then it'd be for 30,000.
Okay.
But we would just want to award up to the 20% of 40.
Where would we be taking the money from?
Public improvement, I think, is where we can pull that from, because it's under the ordinances and ensuring that we're up to date and improving those, and it's tied to marketing. So I think we can pull it from public improvement. We'll validate that, but
Okay, I'm happy to make a motion to authorize a grant match of 20% to apply for the redevelopment ready community grant.
Support.
Any further discussion?
you just add up to a match of, to the 40,000.
Up to the match of 40,000, yes, yeah. Max of, grant match maximum is 40.
Right.
Got that, Kath?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Number 13, authorization for city treasurer to place delinquent accounts on the tax rolls. This is a standard procedure.
I'll move that we authorize the financial director.
Yep.
To levy these to the, lost my document. To levy these to the tax rolls.
Okay,
And I will second.
all right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. First reading of amendment to ordinance number 11-3000. This is purchasing and contracting procedures ordinance. I would like to have an explanation of what is actually changing here, both legally and, so legally, I guess I'd like to know what is changing to this.
Right. So this has come up before, and we decided that in conjunction with all of the budget stuff and everything that you're doing, it's high time that you looked at this ordinance and a policy that's sort of the other side of it. The charter requires an ordinance that sets forth purchasing and contracting procedures, and that's what this is. What we're recommending is deleting the purchasing agent part of the ordinance that's there and replacing it completely with this. Purchasing agent is an office, I guess you'd call it, that was created that's never been used, that anyone can track. There never was a policy on it. It's done differently, and between this ordinance and the policy, what we try to do is capture how it is working, so that everyone can understand who's got what authority. So here, the change would be that there wouldn't be this office of purchasing agent anymore, but rather, you know, the ordinance just spells out what the council's responsibilities are as far as reviewing bids and quotes, and sets forth the local bid provision, which is allowed under the charter. The 5% is a number that communities will often use. That's where that came from. And sets forth the sort of motion that you make in the last real paragraph, if you decide to waive bids. So.
Okay. Do I have a motion to advance this to second reading?
I will move that we advance ordinance number 11-300 to the second reading.
And I will second.
Okay, we have motion and support. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ordinance moves on to second reading. Moving on to number 15, City of Ishpeming Purchasing and Contracting Policy. Can we kind of
So that's.
legally do this as well?
Yes, that's the rest of the process. This is more directed at city staff, and it's the council directing city staff from the manager on down as to their authority to make purchases, and it sets forth some of the modern day, shall we say, methods that can be used, such as looking at online websites and gathering purchase information, things like that, that are not in our 1986 charter. It also sets forth the emergency purchase policy, which is a policy that the charter requires us to have, and also provides specific authority to the manager and for the manager to authorize his staff within specific limits to make purchases.
And those limits did not change.
The dollar limits come from the 1995 charter amendment.
The point being, though, we're not changing, we're not altering anything.
No, correct.
Still following
The
the charter.
categories in the charter are preserved here. It would
Yes.
take a charter amendment to change that.
Yes.
Okay.
Your Honor, I move that we have to do a second reading of this? Or can we-
No, this is just a city policy and can be revised with just another vote. It's a single vote kind of a.
Okay.
So I move that we adopt the City of Ishpeming Purchasing and Contracting Policy as numbered 210 on this date.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and support. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Policy number 2-10 is adopted. No, 210, sorry. Okay. Moving on to City Resolution 18-2023, Resolution Healthcare Cost Option as set forth in PA 152 of 2011. So what this is it simply allows us to opt out of the hard caps, which is an 80-20.
So yeah, so as part of our proposal for the budget, it was included that we would continue to look at the opt-out. If you opt in, you are into that hard cap or making another decision about a split. But the opt-out gives you full flexibility as a council. You've chosen to do that every year since I've been here, and probably well beyond my years into the past. And so this is just asking you to continue that because it supports us as a staff and the community in giving us the most flexibility within budgeting.
And as well, I believe, was that part of negotiation that we would continue to opt out as well?
No, we discuss their desire related to that because they want to have most flexibility to negotiate.
Okay.
But it is not technically part of a contractual term.
Okay.
Your Honor, I would make a motion that we accept resolution number 18-2023 and opt out of Public Act 152 of 2011.
Support.
One of the problems with doing that tonight is that it requires 4 votes.
Oh, it requires 4 votes?
It requires 4.
Then
Okay,
I would
so table
rescind
it
my motion and
Table
suggest that
this
we table this
till
until the next meeting.
or we can table it till the special meeting as well.
I would say this sort of goes along with budget. You might want to act on them in the same meeting.
Okay, so let's, I'll make a motion, we table it till the, no, until the November 29th special meeting. Do I have a support on that? Okay, do we need a vote on that, or is?
To table was our motion to table
Yeah.
and support.
Okay.
So vote.
All right, all those in favor to table that?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, opposed? That is now tabled to our special meeting on November 29th. Moving on to number 17, request to purchase a new John Deere Gator for groomer. I thought,
Your Honor, if I might save some work, I would move that we table 17 and 18 to the next available meeting with full council.
So I will support that. Is there any further discussion on that? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? 17 and 18 are both tabled until the next council meeting, or to the December council meeting? Or until the
Till
budget
full
special?
council. So we can do it at the special.
Okay,
Doesn't
all right,
matter.
we will put this on the agenda for the November 29th special meeting. Okay.
To be clear, I believe tabling just moves it to the next meeting as opposed to postponing. Am I correct?
I think you can table it to a date certain or to a meeting.
Okay.
So
And
if you're
that's
saying,
why I said it doesn't matter to me whether we went to the next regular meeting or if we put it on the special. And as long as the special is acceptable.
Okay.
Perfect, let's do that. Okay, moving on to number 19, proposal from WR Construction for work on the storm sewer at the outflow.
So as we've talked in past, that concrete pipe is cracked, there's some sinkhole around it, there's some sand that's collected in that pipe. It requires a confined space certification in order to go in there and remove that sand. We do not have that, and so we found a company that has the certification, can do that. And so we're asking to be able to execute that so that we can clear that pipe before the weather turns and we're faced with some issue caused by the sand in the spring, so.
Okay.
And I would make a motion that we approve the proposal from WR Construction to complete that work.
Where is the funding? Is there a funding source listed for that one?
I'll support that.
Okay.
Funding source.
It'll have to be public improvement.
Public Improvement Fund, okay.
How did we land on WR Construction?
by contacting our engineering firm. They gave me a list of people that are certified in confined space. And WR is actually Will Rajala out of Nagani.
Right.
And he was the only one that called me back to do this.
Okay,
Good, well done.
all righty. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The proposal is adopted. Moving on to number 20. Discuss how to present findings from the investigation on the area south of Division across from the high school.
So we've been doing a lot of collecting of data. We've had different lines televised and scoped and videos and pictures. We've had visits to residents' homes. We've had looks at meters and backflow preventers and sump pumps and all of these things. So the question for the staff is like, how is it best viewed by the council to address these things? Is it by category? Is it by home? Is it by, are we showing televised or are we showing pictures? Like what is your perceived outcome as far as presenting the data that we've collected? Because there's so much of it. There's stuff that's on tablets and tracking where lines are. There's, like I said, pictures, videos, and visits. And so we can do it by home, we can do it by street, we can do it by block, we can do it by video, we can do it by television. Like it's just so many different ways. Like, how do you, as a council, perceive us bringing this packet in a presentable manner so that you can understand the totality of what we're seeing and how it's brought concern to the community, it's brought concern to the council to direct us to go out and do all of this research.
I think, in my opinion, I think we, as well as the owners of those properties, need to be able to have all of the data possible in front of us to make an appropriate decision. And I also think there should be several possible ways that this are options that this gets paid for as well.
First off, you have to decide if it is our issue.
Can I, so I would like to see, sorry, Bill.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Cut you off. But I think that, so before we even, because I think the question is, how do we want it presented so that we can decide whether or not there's an actionable item, and then we can decide how much that costs and where it gets allocated and so forth. So I think that a good way to start would be, you suggested block, house, individual, et cetera. I think kind of maybe by block with an overview of the issues in that area. Supported by, I don't know that we need full video, but maybe a screenshot of particular areas that are of note. And then I think that, and I'm going to forget his last name, is it Kalpanen? Or is it? Yeah. Okay, close, sorry. He has been at, many meetings, and so, and that has been a topic of discussion. So I think that if we could look at that property in particular, and if that is a zoom in from a block by block, I think that would be good.
If I might, Your Honor, we had Jason and I and Craig had a brief discussion today. It just coincidentally, I came in to talk to Craig and Jason came in 2 minutes later. We have some information, as Craig mentioned, we have some of the video from Tunnel Vision. We've developed some information that is very pertinent, and one part of it is that there have been, and I'm just pulling a number out of the air, but approximately 6 buildings that have been raised with leaving vacant lots. And it appears from Tunnel Vision that the utilities were never terminated. So that there are sewer lines that are open underground that are allowing groundwater to run into the sewer water. The other thing is that's all brand new sewer pipe in that whole section.
It is, yeah.
So that was a very interesting discovery. So we can't say that it's infiltrating through pipes because they're new pipes. It shouldn't be an issue unless there was an inadequate installation. So I think that the first step is to, first we have to, I'm not gonna use Todd. Down the alley from Todd, there's an apartment building. And south of that apartment building, there's a vacant lot. And I'm not naming owners because it's irrelevant at this point. At some point, somebody either purchased that lot or the land bank has it. So we need to find all of the vacant lots that have had a house raised, or an apartment building, whatever it might be, in that core district. At the same time, we have to see who raised the building that was there. Did the land bank pay a local contractor to come in and tear it down? Because it should have been terminated as part of the demolition. So we have to do a fair amount of due diligence on this, and I think we're way far away from telling a property owner that they have to suffer the loss on their own, or that they have to do corrective action on their own costs, or anything as a solution, because we haven't defined the problem yet. So if we in fact find out that, just say out of the 6 or whatever it is, 4 of them were just knocked down, and there wasn't a demolition permit, that has to be permitted by the county. All the things had to be followed, we might have a contractor that we go back to that was liable, that didn't do a proper demolition. And it just as an example, so there are so many unknowns right now. I think that our DPW and the city manager and our engineering firm and Tunnel Vision have to bring all that data together. And a lot of those houses bought the lot next to them.
And I think that we still need to figure out why when water runs down certain areas and the way it's running over there as well, because it still does run down the alley and then diverts off a little bit towards some properties as well. I think, yes, those uncapped things are probably a major problem, but I think there's potentially some more other things too, just from some of the video I have or what I've seen
So I
there
think
too.
the question is not that there's lots of data and that we maybe don't know the solution, but how do we want that presented to us? Was the question.
I would like to see
You guys have just talked about what it is that you want.
No, my
but
point is, we haven't defined the data we want presented. I don't want them to put a presentation together.
I don't know what data they have, and so I don't know what data I want them to present to me. So I would like to start with a high level. Let's look at the block, let's look at the neighborhood. Tell me what's going on with the block in the neighborhood.
Well, I'm saying right now, I want the vacant lots and all that history.
There's 19 of them.
Go ahead, Bill.
19, is there really?
Yes.
Okay.
In that 3-block area, there are 19 pipes that are leaking groundwater.
So
So not only is it the groundwater, but you say there's ground that is seeping, that ground is going into the sanitary system.
Okay, and
So that is where the problem lies. So
So-
I can give you
No,
any
hang on,
data you
hang
want, but how do you want it? Do you want to watch boring videos?
I
You
wanna
want a
see- I want to
booklet?
see snapshot, I want to see screenshots of the interesting part of the boring videos. I don't want to watch the boring
That's the direction I
video.
want to know.
Yeah.
We're not
Okay,
resolving anything.
And I would like.
How bored do you want to be, or how much data do you want? Because I got a lot.
Well, I don't necessarily know if we need to see the video. I think we need to definitely see a screenshot of that. And I think we need to make, just to have some dates as to when these properties were changed hands too, because that'll help us also and make some determinations on who may be responsible for that. But I think, and I think that we need to have as much appropriate data as possible. And we can ask if more needs to be
Yeah, I
presented
think
at
an
that point
overview-
too.
I think an overview is good, and if we need more, we can ask for more, because I think the issue is that there's so much data that we probably maybe don't need or want all of it. Please give us an overview, and I would say to the, quarter deep level, and then we can poke and ask for more if
If you look at the drawing we were looking at today, you look at Joe Blow's house, sewer water in their basement, vacant lot here. You look at Susie Johnson's house, they had problems with water in their vacant lot next to it. And it's more than a coincidence.
And I have one question. Are any of those uncapped pipes under where there is a current structure? Or is it all vacant land?
There are certain current structures that have a problem with their sewer lateral where there is mud coming in instead of sewage, if that's what you want to know.
So I think I have what I need in order to prepare something. The only other thing is I think that it is going to have enough information and enough presentation that it's going to warrant a special.
I was just going to say we should
So
set
I
up a
would say a special in the month of December.
Yeah.
Following the regular meeting, because
Yes.
obviously we don't want to do something before that, but obviously before the Christmas holiday. So we'll set a Wednesday following the regular meeting solely about this. And present the best
I
we
also
can,
think
all
it-
of the data from, from the high end just dialed down.
Down the amount of the data, I could, on the map we were looking at, I can visually see, well, here's Todd's house, here's the
Yeah,
other.
that's right.
The people that came and approached us should have priority.
And I think those people should also be notified that we are having a special meeting of that in some way, so they can also come and see the actual data that's here too.
We will make notice to the community, that neighborhood area, that we're having a special, that it would be presented. We're not specifically addressing each individual, depends on how we drill it down, but as I understand is we're gonna start, the neighborhood, drill down into the specific categories of trouble with a few photos of specificity in each of those areas that is enough to help shape the understanding of each of those conditions and allow you to start discussing about what we should be thinking about for the next step.
Agreed.
We're not gonna propose a next step. We're gonna let you think about what you should propose the next step.
Okay. Fair?
Sounds good.
Okay, so we'll look at setting, we want to do it definitely before the
holiday.
I got it Wednesday after the regular meeting before the holiday. I'll get it set up.
Well, hang on, there's one Wednesday that I'm not able. Oh, that one I am, okay, because I have a doctor's appointment downstate, so. Okay, so Wednesday after the next regular council meeting, the 13th, is that? Is it?
Maybe the 13th or the 20th, but we'll try for the 13th
I won't be
first.
able to do the 20th.
Okay, then we'll try for the 13th.
Please. Okay. And I won't be able to do the one on New Year's week either, so. Okay, we'll move on from that now, and number 21, update on patching bids for Main Street and 7th Street.
Well, we did go out for sealed bids and we got 0 back.
Which, right, and it was towards the end of the year, so we went out and did the appropriate
One
thing.
thing that we have to consider as a council, people don't want that work. And if you get somebody to do it, and council acts like we did on this occasion, and said, we'll waive competitive bidding to get it done, there's a reason for doing it. It's not just to waive competitive bidding, it's because we got somebody on the hook that said they'd do it.
Or the flip side of the argument is if we would have went out for bids the first, sealed bids the first time, would we have gotten bids on that?
And that's exactly what I'm saying. I don't think we would have, because they don't want it right now. I'm going through it where I work. They don't want jobs like that.
They don't want the small jobs. It's very difficult to find somebody that wants to bounce around from one project to another. That's why we do a lot of work ahead of time to try and find these bids and quotes. It's not like we're just throwing a map or a dart at a map and saying that's what we're going with. there's a lot of research that we go into those, and
And we can continue to go out for sealed bids.
Yep.
Don't expect to get bidders.
And if I can bring up another example, we went out for the bids on the door downstairs. And we went with what was the lower bid by, I think it was like $1,500 difference. Well, we're gonna be waiting 16 weeks for that door to come in because that certain contractor can't get the door for 16 weeks. Where Stone, or a local contractor, was prepared to do it.
So we're stalled out on that with no.
Yep.
Well, we aren't stalled out. We saved $1,500. We went out on bid and got savings. But we also,
Yeah,
we
the
also
door.
got a 15-week pause hiatus waiting on a door to be
I'm not
delivered.
talking about the
Oh,
door, I'm talking
Oh.
about the paving.
yeah,
paving
so on
ones
the
is-
paving, we're out for this year.
We're out for this year.
That'll be gravel, that'll be through the winter, that'll be gravel. And we'll try to mix it in with the paving work that we've got proposed in the budget.
And on the door, why can't they find a door when another one has?
That's
Or-
not our decision. When we ask a contractor to do
Business
the work,
models.
that's their work.
Who did we go with on that one?
Window outfitters, or the one down on
Window
Washington.
store?
No.
Window store?
Window store.
Yeah,
Is it-
which is a
Western
local
Windsor?
business in a way too, though, so. I still say, though, we need to look at this stuff, and I'm a fan of the sealed bids when we can do it. I am. That's what our charter does say, in my opinion. Yes, we can waive it competitively, competitive bidding, so.
But we were below the dollar amount for sealed bids. It was less than 10 grand
On the door, we.
on the door,
Yeah,
correct?
we were on that on the door, we were over that on the road. Okay, moving on to the second public comment period, which is a limit of 3 minutes per person. Is there anybody in the room that would like to speak during public comment? Okay.
It's me again, Mike Tonkin from 612 North 3rd Street. We just had a little problem. I was in the business, and still am. I deal with doors every day. It is not unusual to have to wait 3 to 4 months for a special sized door. The door that's down there now is going to stay there for as long as it has to. It's not falling on the frame. It's still working. You still got to follow the charter. And the first thing that comes to mind about this is lazy. The charter says, I was in business for 45 years. I've been dealing with contractors for that length of time. I've been over and under, above, sideways on all this stuff. There's many dealers out there. There's many contractors out there. You got to start working on your system. You have a pool of people that you can call. And Rennell went out and found a contractor for paving in the local area, just started in Marquette. And they're doing small driveways. They're perfectly capable of doing streets. So there's people out there. We got to learn to spread our tentacles out a little bit and start contacting more people. There's plenty of people out there, but the excuses keep coming up. Oh, this and oh, that and oh, this. Why did you wait 2 or 3 weeks to even advertise the second time around for that paving job? Because you know they closed the plant on the 15th of November. We all know that. At least if you're in the business, you know it. And Ishpeming Township is just wrapping theirs up. They were out yesterday doing the last bit. And that was Payne and Dolan, by the way. So, thanks for your attention.
Okay, is there anybody else in the room that would like to speak during the second public comment? Last call? Okay, moving on. Oh, I should check.
Hold on. We got Bob Hendrickson online here raising his hand.
Oh, sorry about that, Bob.
No problem.
No, he's
Apologize
on the-
for, you got me?
Yeah, go ahead, Bob.
All right. Apologize for missing my portion of the meeting with the permitting for the the beer tent. But I just want to let you guys know that the 137th annual ski jumping tournament is well underway for planning. We're on another weekend, and we're looking forward to hosting another great tournament.
We look forward to seeing that happen too, and we passed it.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
Yep.
Okay, we are now moving on to mayor and council reports. We'll start with, well, there's only 3 of us, so I'll go to the right this time, Pat.
Well, Your Honor, I have 2 things I'd like to request.
Oh.
One, I would like to have LSPC come in at our December meeting for an update. With budget going on in that, I think we need to talk with them.
Sure.
I'd like them to tell me why we're still paying them. A little disappointed. And also, Your Honor, at the December meeting, if possible, I would like to have council updated on the MDOT roundabout project.
That's also good, yeah.
How the winter's gonna unfold. They got the office right here, they should be able to.
Okay, is that it?
That is all.
Lindsay?
Well, I did not attend the Parks and Recreation meeting in October, unfortunately, so I don't have anything to report from that meeting. I did attend the Planning Commission meeting on Monday evening, where we, as part of the Peninsula and Anderson Lofts projects, we did approve the conditional use permits for both of those to have housing on the lower level, along with retail space. And we did, I was going to tell you that there were 2 vacancies on the Planning Commission, except they've both been filled this evening, so the Planning Commission is back up to full capacity. And so that's pretty exciting. We do also have a joint Planning Commission and DDA meeting that will be happening on, is it Monday, Tuesday? It's on my calendar. Tuesday.
No, Monday, November 27th.
Monday, thank you. November 27th at 4 p.m. And that is the DDA and the Planning Commission. I believe for the redevelopment ready certification, it dictates that we're supposed to have a joint meeting twice a year. So this will be our first, I think. And so looking forward to that. We've got some really interesting things on the agenda for that. Yeah, so that will be, I think that will be a very beneficial conversation.
Okay, excellent.
Excuse me, Your Honor, I
Sorry.
have a question.
We have an answer for you on a couple of things. We have answers for your questions in my manager report if you wanted to wait for 2 more minutes.
Yeah, and mine is short, so.
My question was just real quick.
Yeah.
Second floor of the 2 buildings, there's no special use or anything if it's housing on it? Okay.
Yes, yeah, the conditional use is just for the first floor.
Can you
And
change
actually,
the, screen there?
the developer, CJ, had with him Barry Polson, the architect who's doing all of the planning for both buildings, and he spoke to retaining a lot of the historic nature and character of both buildings, really, and doing some work to reinstate some of the historical character on the outside of the Nicolay, previously the Peninsula Bank. So I thought that was really encouraging. I think it's pretty exciting, and I'm pretty happy that this evening we finalized that last official step here, so.
Okay. All righty. I am really quick. Yeah, my report is really quick. I want to congratulate all of the Ishpeming Hematites sports teams on their amazing fall seasons. Your community is proud. And I want to do a heartfelt thank you to all of our veterans as Veterans Day is approaching. And I would like to just thank one veteran in particular who is here, my father, for his service. So thank you, Dad, Ray Chapman. So, okay, go ahead, Craig.
So Mary Farmer has walked out unless she's in the hallway, but, okay. So, ma'am, you brought up 2 points during your public comment. One was about downtown development and businesses. You should bring some of those ideas that you have to the DDA. That's part of their role in the DDA is to work on the downtown development and what it can do for the community. So absolutely, I think that's a place to bring that comment. And then I will reach out to Doreen at the housing, but Doreen should be working on coordinating the Mark Tran visit to the housing for sure. I know that at the senior center, Ashley Roberts is working with them and others to try to figure out how to provide some shuttle services for seniors in the area for some of the things that they need to do. But if Mark Tran had a stop and they changed the stop, that is absolutely something Doreen can work on, and I can certainly help to reach out and coordinate with her on that. But we can address both of those. I think the first one though is more appropriately with the DDA rather than the city council. I just wanted to give you that as an option. And the next meeting is November 27th on a Monday afternoon, so.
Okay, anything else?
Yeah, so I sent everyone a manager's update because it's a lot of stuff. And so just kind of hitting some highlights. The tube slide agreement between ourselves and the union has been signed and we posted for the job. So we can now hire beyond just full-time enrolled college students. And then I personally reached out in an email to the NMU president because he had pulled me aside one time and said he had visited our tube slide in Alqual before he even took the job, and his daughters were very interested in the potential of riding that tube slide. So I sent him a note saying that we posted it and if he wants to do anything to help with getting some students to apply. But anyone that is interested in working the tube slide, part-time, full-time in that window, the announcement is out and it's on our website for sure. And where else did we post it? Michigan Works, probably.
Yep, it's on the website, Michigan Works. I don't know if it got linked to Facebook yet. And I sent an e-blast to Northern, and I just made a note to send it to the high schools.
So high school, e-blast to Northern, our website, and Michigan Works for sure right now, and we'll work on getting it on the social media page. But anyone that's interested in working on the tube slide, it'll be open. The announcement is out and open for applications now. No, that's a big deal for the community. So
Do you want me to give an update on the roundabout?
You know what?
The roundabout. The roundabout. Do you want me to?
Yeah, sure.
So I can answer your questions about the roundabout. They finished pouring the west and easterly walls last week. They're pouring the footing the remainder of this week, and they'll be trimming the pylon walls. Their hope is to have 2 more good weeks of concrete work, and then they're going to try and remove the barrels from that area, and then they will be covering up the Country Village stoplight for winter, and then everything should be back to normal operations, wide open. They're putting the guardrail back in about a week and a half, and then come springtime, it's going to go back to that temporary light and that road closure. So before the next, what's that?
The Jubilee Road?
Jubilee Road will be open for winter.
Excellent.
Very good, thank you. That,
So
that's really the need for MDOT.
it does, okay. So, and we'll have them, we'll try to get them to come out before the spring and kind of give us an update as to where the spring's going to start going. Want to let you know that the fire department was able to secure a grant. The Michigan Fire Equipment application went in, and they're going to get some personal thermal imaging devices.
Not just $10 worth of.
10,000. Oh, yeah, sorry. Comma is not there. Maybe it.
That's a
anyway,
comma.
There might be a comma. Anyway, yeah. Anyway, it's $10,000 they secured. It will purchase 16 thermal imaging cameras and 4 bank chargers with that funding.
Nice.
So Jason did that as your fire chief.
Well done.
One question was we need to work on getting fire trucks. We're working on a distressed communities grant. The last distressed communities grant that we applied for, we got $250,000 towards radio readers, and we did that 2 years in a row. And so we ended up with $500,000 or almost $500,000 worth of equipment for the radio readers that are going in for the meters that were installed that was brought up. But this year, we're going to go looking for, see if that grant will secure us a fire truck.
Perfect.
Fire truck is around
Thank you.
$750,000 to $850,000 for a truck. So we're hoping with some wild aspirations that that grant might secure that kind of money. I hold out hope.
Same. Yeah, I know.
I mean, 250,000 was a big grant, our big award under that grant. Asking for, $800,000 on that grant might be a stretch too far, but we're going to try. And but that is a best effort
feel
now
like-
of asking for a grant that's open.
I feel like you and I have been barking up every possible tree we can find on the fire trucks. Hey?
We do bark up a lot of trees, just so everybody knows. We've been down to Lansing, we've been to DC, we've been a lot of places asking for fire trucks. We're looking for 2 fire trucks, not 1. In the meantime, we're managing to keep the equipment on the road, and it is tough, and we understand that. We appreciate the comment. That's where we are focused on those things. We apply for grants as they become available, and each of those grants have a limited focus on what we can put into that pot as an ask. But this one seems to be flexible enough that it could allow for potential for a fire truck, so we're going to put in for that.
And I'm the one that kind of does the begging. I'm not ashamed to do it.
Well, we've done a lot of begging.
We
We've been
have.
successful at begging lately,
Yes,
so we're
yeah,
going to continue to do that. Just looking down, sorry, making sure I don't miss anything big. So there's the Old South Toe at the Alqual. We took that down last year. And so this year, we're developing an extension of that area for the cross-country skiing, which helps the NMU secure a higher level of certification,
Nice.
which will allow them to have more open invitations to greater competition.
Very cool.
And there's some competition that is being turned away when Michigan Tech is full that could be absorbed down here. So we're offering more in the UP between the 2 schools from that perspective.
Nice.
Sorry, I'm just kind of shooting pretty quick. We filled 2 of the 3 vacancies in the finance department. We have some interviews scheduled for the remainder of the week to try to fill some. We had some really great candidates that made some really tough choices, but they were looking at some pay cuts to come from where they were to now, and we're giving serious consideration, but felt that they couldn't take that for their family, so they turned down the job, and so we're still looking for that. The library has a bunch of reports that they do for the library board, so I just forwarded those to you. Some of the things that we've been doing successfully with blight, we've been winning in court. Last year, the council authorized us to have some, I would say the term is offensive operations versus defensive operations from the standpoint of attorney efforts. And we've won several key arguments in there, and people have seen those visibly. One was property up on 3rd Street got cleaned out that people are begging for. The old schoolhouse up on Pine Street has been cleaned up. We can't do everything because we don't have eminent domain over all of these things, but we are definitely making a stride in cleaning up. But
Was
we're
what we
waiting for court
authorized monetarily enough, or is there room for improvement over the next couple of years?
I think we're gonna have to revisit how much time and effort that's been, but we've been using the attorney strategically and making sure that we're getting wins, and we're getting big wins. You've probably heard that there's been some changes in the court system in Marquette, and so we'll be trying to understand some of those as well. But our direction has been working and has been successful, so important to point out. I have 1 more month left in my role as a board member of the GINCC. I've decided not to extend that. We're going to be busy. $36 million of infrastructure coming to the city. I think that my time should not be on a board. I did focus on a training that is called Asset Management Champion Program. It's with the Michigan State of Michigan Infrastructure Council. And it's about 25 hours of how to manage assets and how to work through the state program and become a champion for that. On the champion map, I think there's 3 managers, myself, John Kangas, and another one out to the east of us. So there's not a lot of managers on that program. But in that program, it allowed me to have some discussion about how our infrastructure is in a mining town, in a 150-year-old town, with the Infrastructure Council as they develop their 5-year strategy update to the Michigan 30-year strategy for infrastructure. So again, having made connections in places at these conferences has led to having influence over some of the state level programs that are occurring, and those capacity grants that, or those capacity contracts that we have has given me some of that time to do those things. The rec plan is, the draft has been reviewed a couple of times. It's going out for public comment soon. So please, if you see that request for public comment on our rec plan, take a moment to look at it and provide comment under that public comment period. That will open soon. We've had 2 facade grants this year. One was JT Olson Woodworking down here right across from Linda Anderecki's, or next to Linda Anderecki's, and across from her husband's attorney's shop. It's beautifully done on the outside. It looks wonderful. And when you look at it compared to what it was, night and day difference. Also, you probably noticed that Jackson's hardware contractor is finally working on that awning that's been hanging over. It's been structurally sound, but it was an eyesore. So you'll start seeing that as coming along. I think they started putting up some of the steel facade front on that. So those things are coming along as well. Those are probably the highlights for now. The Michigan Communities Grant application, that's the skate park and the partnership with Perch Creek Farm. That was supposed to be announced at the end of October. They sent out an announcement that they're going to be announcing at the end of November.
Okay.
So if they don't delay us again, expect something, probably at least notice of our status by that December meeting.
Nice.
That's
Very
all I
good.
have. It's enough, I think.
Well, I'd like to add that I think that this report is very comprehensive
I
and
know.
fantastic.
I looked through that briefly, and I'll be looking at it much more. Thank you, Craig. Anything else?
That's it. That's all I have.
Something there that I was going to ask a question about, but I can talk to you after if I remember. Okay, do I have a motion?
Yes. I'd make a motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nay. No, just kidding. All right, we are adjourned, everybody. Did you see